I do want to stick with the NFC East. And I do want to get into Carson Wentz. A man much maligned by Eagles fans. A man highly criticized. A lot of the blame is being put on his shoulders so far for now the 1-2-1, but previously 0-2-1 start for the Eagles. But last night, Carson Wentz showed you his true meaning, his true impact on the team. Why he is far from the issue in Philadelphia. He is the solution. The Eagles fans, I'm sure a lot of them have already written Carson Wentz off. They're dying for Nick Foles to get back here. They're clamoring for Jalen Hurts to be the starting quarterback. So you're not going to like this if you're in that boat, in that camp. Carson Wentz is the solution for Philadelphia. Far from the issue. So last night, if you went to bed early, you missed it. Eagles defeat the 49ers 25-20, get their first win of the year. And with getting their first win of the year in Week 4, they're in first place in the NFC East. Amazing. But hey, that's football. That is football. Like I said, a lot of blame has been put on Carson Wentz. The offense has looked stagnant. It's been up and down, and he's made, he's had his issues. He's missed some throws. He's missing reads. He hasn't exactly been perfect. But last night, to me, showed why he's the solution. He's one of the few bright spots on this team. And it's shown through last night. Despite the stats really not showing so, he might threw for under 200 yards passing. Had another interception. Now he has 7 on the season. As many as he had the last 3 years. In each season, 2019, 7 interceptions. 2018, 2017, 7 interceptions every year. Now he has 7 interceptions through 4 games. But when you look at what he had to start with last night, it's amazing they won this game. So they were down after Lane Johnson got hurt. He was in and out of the lineup throughout the game. They were down 4 of their 5 projected starting offensive linemen. Jason Kelce at center was the only lineman in the game last night that was supposed to be there. Brandon Brooks ruptured his Achilles before the season started, out for the year. Andre Dillard, their first-round pick from last year, tore his biceps, out for the year. Lane Johnson left the game last night, had some lower leg issues, was in and out of the lineup, missed the first week against the Washington football team. Again, is hurt. They brought back Jason Peters to be their guard. Because injuries had to slide back out to tackle, he's on IR this week with an injury. So they have 1 of the 5 starting offensive linemen playing in the game last night. The Eagles were missing their top 2 wide receivers. So I'm going to go through the list of every wide receiver who caught a pass last night. Tell me if you heard any of these guys. So wide receivers in the game last night who caught a pass from Carson Wentz. Travis Fulgham, who ended up being actually the leading receiver. Greg Ward. John Hightower. Adrian Killins Jr. Wide receivers who caught a pass from Carson Wentz yesterday. Now, Greg Ward, you might have heard from because he was basically their number 1 receiver down the stretch last year. I said this a bunch. A former Houston quarterback. He's a college quarterback turned receiver. He's the most experienced and basically the most talented wide receiver the Eagles had yesterday. So they did have Zach Ertz. You had Miles Sanders catching balls out of the backfield, but they didn't have their 1A tight end, if you will. If Zach Ertz is 1, they're missing their 1A in Dallas Goedert. So despite that, despite Travis Fulgham being your leading receiver, despite the fact that you were missing 4 out of your 5 starting offensive linemen, you're missing your 1A tight end, Carson Wentz still willed this team to victory. He still led them down the field through a gorgeous pass to Fulgham, who, again, I'm a huge college football fan. Huge. So I watch a lot of these games. I watch a lot of smaller college football games that I should have no business watching. So I've heard of a lot of these guys that go to college that play, that kind of emerge out of nowhere, and people are like, who are these guys? I've never heard of Travis Fulgham before. I have no clue where he went to school. No clue what he did. Never, again, didn't even know this guy existed. I was a big college football fan myself. So if I'm not hearing about them, if you're not hearing about these guys, the fact that you could still win with Travis Fulgham being your number 1 option, a former college quarterback turned receiver being your most reliable option out of the wide receiving core. And I know San Francisco has their own injuries. They have their own injury history and own injury issues as well. To go into San Francisco on Sunday night and win that game, flat out impressive. That is damn impressive by Carson Wentz and the Eagles. So he's getting it done with no help around him. Absolutely no help around him. And to credit Carson Wentz, you know what he's doing as well? He's not only, again, led them to victory last night with a mash unit around him on offense. He's changing his game to cater to the team that he has. Carson Wentz, as we know, he's mobile, but he's more of a pocket passer. He's injury prone, so for the most part, you don't really want him running too much. But because the O-line protection is so putrid, because everyone's hurt, because the weapons aren't getting open, because they're practice squad players at best, he's adapting his game this year and running more. He's the second leading rusher behind Miles Sanders on this team in terms of attempts and in terms of yards. How about we give him credit for that? Because last night he did it again. Carson Wentz, it felt like, ran for a bunch of huge and key first downs to keep drives going. He's getting out of sacks. He's keeping plays alive. And he's getting first downs and making plays with his legs. He's adapting his game in year 5 because he has to. Let's give him some credit for that. There's no way by design Doug Pederson is scheming his offense to have Carson Wentz through 4 games as a second leading rusher in terms of attempts and in terms of yards. There's just no way. But that's what Carson Wentz has to do. And he's doing it so far. So that's why the criticism, the slander, you got to stop, Philly. And even just national media as well. Carson Wentz has been a pinata the last few weeks. A lot of questions. Is Jalen Hurts in his head? Is he regressing in year 5? Doug Pederson responded to that question. That's a great question. Not exactly a big vote of confidence from your head coach. Not exactly, pinning issues on other areas as to why you haven't played that well. You got to realize Carson Wentz is playing with one hand tied behind his back, essentially. Because of all the injuries this year, this comparison popped in my head yesterday. Because of all the injuries the Eagles have faced, because, again, the weapons are what I told you, Travis Fulgham as their number 1 option, missing 4 to the 5 offensive linemen. Because of these injuries, Carson Wentz, to me, is in a similar situation to Deshaun Watson down in Houston. Deshaun Watson has really no weapons to work with. His offensive line's a sieve. They're in cap hell. He's running for his life every play. And the Texans are 0-4. You know what we're not talking about today? You know who's not getting criticism? You know who's not getting blamed for their 0-4 start? Deshaun Watson. Why? Because people realize the situation he's in. He has no help around him. Bill O'Brien, his head coach and great general manager, traded away his best option at wide receiver for an injury-prone running back that has really yet to make a real impact. Anywhere close, actually, to what they need. The offensive line, they traded and overpaid for Laramie Tunsil, gave him a massive contract because they traded 2 first-round picks and realized they couldn't just let him go after having him for 2 years. So how do you keep him? You overpay him. So they're overpaying their offensive line. Their high draft pick last year, Titus Howard's really not working out so far. The offense is in a slog. The defense stinks. And they're 0-4. We're not sitting here talking about Deshaun Watson. Oh, is he worth the contract? Is he really as good as we hyped him up to be? We talked about that QB tiers list The Athletic does every year. Mike Sando does a great job talking to coaches and evaluators of the NFL. And they basically rank their quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson was in the elite category. He was in the upper echelon, the number 1 category for quarterbacks heading into this year. That is the 5th best quarterback in the NFL. In the same category as Patrick Mahomes, in the same category as Russell Wilson. We're not blaming Deshaun Watson for the 0-4 start. We're not blaming Deshaun Watson. We're not questioning his abilities. Because we have eyes. We see. How come we're not doing that with Carson Wentz? Now, again, he has been inconsistent. He has missed some throws that are completely on him. He is by far from perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not excusing his play. I'm not excusing overthrows like he had last week. He had Miles Sanders wide open, overthrew him, inexcusable. So he has his moments as well. But similar to Deshaun Watson down in Houston, Carson Wentz has little help. Again, I just told you, 4 to the 5 offensive linemen missing. His top 2 wide receiving targets in Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey, both out with injury again. Your 2 top options are Travis Fulgham, a guy no one even really knew was alive and existed up until last night, and Greg Ward, a former college quarterback. A guy who got a lot of targets because of the wide receiving core is so bad, and Dallas Goedert's out for a few weeks. But yet, Carson Wentz has given this team opportunities to win games, and now he went on the road against a tough San Francisco defense. Sure, the defensive line was hurt a little bit. Obviously, no Nick Bosa. But they still went and won the game. So Carson Wentz is one of the few positives the Eagles have this year. They'd be in a way, way, way worse position if there's anyone else quarterback in this team. If it was Nick Foles, if it was Jalen Hurts, the Eagles are 0-3 or 0-3-1 or 0-4. They're in big trouble. So I'm curious, if you watched that game last night, are you believing in Carson Wentz? Are you believing in the Eagles? Because again, they're in first place right now. Despite the record being it is what it is. They are 1-2-1. They are in first place. As Bill Parcells says, you are what your record says you are. Well, you know what 1-2-1 says you are? First place team. So to me, Carson Wentz, at least for yesterday, silence of critics. When you're playing with one hand tied behind your back, still got the win. Still adapting his game to lead his team to victory. So I'm curious your thoughts. If you watch outside, did Carson Wentz prove anything to you? Does this win make you a believer in the Eagles? I mean, you watched that game against the Bengals 2 weeks ago. I guess really last week. Offensively, it was tough to watch at points. It was really hard to watch. Doug Pederson lost aggressiveness. Carson Wentz is missing throws. The offensive line is stinking it up. But this week, to me, Carson Wentz showed his value to the team and why he's so important and why all this talk of trading him, getting rid of him, stupid. Stupid. Carson Wentz is the guy in Philly. He is the solution, one of the few bright spots on this Eagles team.